what is the learning curve of DevOps, and what about career development?
From a DevOps foundations and leadership perspective, which are the two courses that we're looking at from PeopleCert, the learning curve is not too steep. So conceptually, it's fairly easy to understand what it's about, especially if you're an IT practitioner, and even more so if you've got ITIL training and experience. It's a pretty flat curve to understand it at a conceptual level. That learning curve gets a little steeper when you get to the implementation. Jim can probably talk to that about that stack. When you talk about automation, there are specific certifications for specific vendor technologies. So much like we've seen traditionally in the IT space, where it's easy to understand what servers are and what the ITIL model is for IT service, but you need some people who are trained in security. You need people who are trained in the change management technologies. You need people who are specialists in the incident management technologies, or now you see software that like ServiceNow that goes across all of those processes. So you need people who are experts in there, and that's a little bit steeper learning curve at that level of the stack. From a career development perspective, a great question. I think harkening back to Rick's stats, what we're seeing is more and more job postings where the job description is calling for specific DevOps skills and DevOps experience. So, if you look at that, if that survey is anywhere close to right, and the market stats, a market growing at 26% a year in terms of its economic impact, the career opportunities are huge. And that's why we talked a little bit about integrating that with the HR department to make sure that they know what those competencies and skills are about, and everybody's working together to give people career paths. Jim, I don't know if you want to talk about the learning curve anymore.
I think you described it pretty well, John. It's not about specific tools. It's about loosely coupled tools that are providing the value that you need to do the things that you need to do. Over and above that, the key practices. So if you've been an ITIL practitioner, you may not be familiar with some of the more agile type of practices, in particular SCRUM and things of that nature. And SCRUM is typically one of the approaches that's used with DevOps teams. So there might be a little additional learning there. The fundamentals course is going to touch on it. It's going to touch on the basics of it. It's going to refer to other things. You can pick up a lot of the other knowledge with additional readings, and or you could, if Scrum is going to be super important, you could start to look at agile type of certifications and or training in Scrum and those types of team operation. But that would be the main thing.